Hello, everybody. How's it going? That's a rhetorical question, except to Vic, right? I guess
It's
everybody
going well.
could kind of type, down below.
Add your comments below. Tell us in your comments how it's going.
How's it going? Exactly, exactly. I caught myself saying that before, and I did that very same thing. I said, well, I guess you can kind of write it below. But Vic and I were going to get together today to talk about the Rashis, but we changed our mind, right? And
Yeah.
I changed my mind because Vic and I had been kind of communicating back and forth. And I saw a really wonderful post on Vic's Facebook page today. And I just thought it was a really good thing to talk about. So I'm just going to read the post, and we can use that as a launching board into the conversation, which is, you're not a puppet. Who's pulling your strings, right? That's not part of the quote, but you're not a puppet. Karmic momentum is unstoppable, yes, but that does not make you a helpless puppet. You cannot choose what happens to you, that's true, but you must choose how you will react to what happens. You have to decide, how do I want to react to this situation? What can I do with this situation to create the most positive future for everyone involved? Then you actually have to muster the strength to try and react that way. Of course, you will not succeed 100% of the time, but you have to make the effort to keep trying, keep coming closer and closer to the 100% ideal. That is how you create karma, good karma. Don't come to astrology like a helpless pawn and puppet. Come like a person ready to work, ready to create the new destiny and karma that you really want.
Good job. You really read that well.
Well,
Thank you.
that's exactly how it struck me, and myself, I just, before we go into the conversation, I had this analogy that came to me. And I think, we relate to things obviously through things that happen in our own life. And I find myself quite often when, I don't have a knife on me, right? I'm not somebody who carries around a pocket knife. And sometimes you have to cut things, right? So what do I always do? If I have to, I always use a key, right? And I take that key and I'll cut a piece of string or something like that, right? So imagine you're outside, right? And you've got a piece of string you've got to cut. And you've got a key to your house, right? Are you going to take that, let's say it's not string, let's say it's a piece of rope, right? Because rope's harder to cut. Are you going to take that key and try to slice through a piece of rope? Or are you going to go and unlock the door
And get some scissors.
and get some scissors or something else that'll... And quite often I find, people will come to astrology for prediction because that's what they have this, mindset about astrology being all about, right? But what is at the root of your prediction, or that you're seeking guidance about? What's at the root of it is you're perhaps upset about something, the fact that you're not in a relationship, or maybe you see yourself as not being successful because you're in a relationship, or maybe you think that everybody else around you is happy in this, job that they're doing, but you can't seem to stick with one job for a certain period of time, so you're unhappy about that. Well, what do you usually come to the astrologer with? Is it, what's wrong with my relationship life? Or why is my vocation life this way? Well, some of you do. But I know myself, I experience at least 60 or 70% of people, all that they want to ask is, when will I get married? When will I hold down a steady job? But what's at the root of that, right? Many times if you understand, if you have that key, you can go unlock the door, right? And it may not completely turn your problem around, but you'll understand. You'll understand why that's there. And you may actually even, in some of the circumstances, recognize that, gee, well, maybe it's good in my life that I can't hold down a steady job, right? Maybe it's good that I'm not married because maybe marriage isn't for me, right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I don't want to go too far off on a tangent, but I encounter lots of people. I'm going to give a specific example with career indicators in Mrigashira Nakshatra, right? Or in Vishaka Nakshatra, both of which tend to have this variance energy about them, right? Especially with Mrigashira Nakshatra. And I'll find that those people will tend to have a job for a certain period of time, get dissatisfied with it, move on to another job, get dissatisfied with that. But how are they relating to themselves? They see themselves as not being successful. I'm not successful because I can't hold down something that's steady. And then at one period of their life, they recognize that they were doing this for this reason, that for another reason, and that for another reason, so that they could pull everything that they'd done over the course of their life together under one umbrella. And they needed all those little skills so that they could do that. But when they're in that moment, they judge themselves. Yeah. So self-understanding, self-acceptance, knowing why things are the way that they are, really helps you to unlock the problem. And then at that moment, your question is going to be less, when am I going to get married? Or when will I find a steady job? But more, is this something that I can accept about myself? Or is this something that I want to apply my energy towards changing? So what was on your mind when you said that? That's some of the feelings that it stirred in me. Yeah.
I can't tell you what was on my mind when I wrote that. That would betray the confidentiality session. But I was just dealing with particular reading, and this was what I really felt that I had to express. And then sometimes when you express something, it's just universal, you know. Mm-hmm. And I felt, well, this little nugget right here is universal. Like, I should post this. Everybody needs to hear this. I think that Vedic astrology is popular somehow, right? But people don't really know what the Vedic part is supposed to be. They just think, what is it? I don't know. It's from India. Or I'm Indian, so I'm going to go with Vedic astrology because that's my heritage. But really, the Vedic astrology part doesn't mean that it's sidereal, first of all. And it doesn't, Vedic astrology means that it's coming with the knowledge of, that's in the Veda. It's coming along with, let's define it this way, that Vedic astrology should be defined as that it comes along with the philosophy of the Upanishads and the Vedas and the Puranas. So it comes with some philosophy. Yeah, and I find that the people that come to me, what doesn't happen too often, but when it does, it's difficult to deal with very specific questions. 9 times out of 10, they are just not they have serious problems. Mm. Not because they have these questions, but because they have the wrong idea about what they need. They have an idea that if they can get an answer to some specific question so that they can get some specific thing, then everything will be okay.
Right.
And that is in the Vedic language, that's called a rajasic gyan. That's a way of seeing the world which is very biased. And thinking, this thing is good and that thing is bad. The better gyan, the sattvic gyan, the better perception is vibhakteshu. To see that there's so many different possible outcomes that could happen, but they're all the same. In essence.
What do you mean by that? I think I get what you're talking about, but yeah.
Yeah. You could get fired or you could get hired. How much of a real difference does it make to your life? And people will freak out possibly hearing somebody say that. What are you talking about? It makes a huge difference whether I get fired or hired. It doesn't make a big difference. What really makes a big difference in your life is whether you're happy or not.
Exactly.
But foolish people think that they require things to be happy. Mm-hmm. That we require. You do require some things to be happy. I mean, you require to be alive.
Basic human dignity, like, food.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, you can be hungry and still.
You can actually be dying.
And be happy.
And you do, okay, so there's basic things that you need, and a job is necessary. You do need a job, but just because you can get fired from one job doesn't mean you're not going to get another job. It doesn't mean you're not going to get money from somewhere. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get food. somehow the things are going to work out. And even when they do work out, if your brain is broken, you may be wearing a crown, but your brain is still broken.
Yes.
Or you may be wearing rags, but your brain is still broken. If your heart is broken, you can be in a palace or you can be in the sewer. Exactly. And it doesn't make a difference. So the real thing that we should be searching for in life is not whether or not we have a crown or a palace, but whether or not our heart is whole or our head is whole, whether or not we understand life, whether or not we understand ourselves. So if you really want Vedic astrology, then you should just take some Vedic knowledge. It's more important than the astrology part, actually, is the Vedic part. If you really want a cure for suffering, then it doesn't really matter if your daughter is going to get married or not. What should matter is whether or not your daughter is going to be happy.
Exactly. Yes.
That should be what matters. And happiness isn't dependent on anything. It doesn't matter if she has children or doesn't have children. It doesn't matter if she gets a job or doesn't get a job. It doesn't matter if she gets married or not. She can be happy or unhappy in either situation. So all the Upanishads tell us that suffering or klesha comes from avidya or ignorance. And avidya really means lack of knowing what I really am.
Exactly.
So if people don't know what they are, so they think that they need things. So they but everybody wants to be happy. That's natural.
Yes.
Everybody wants to be happy. They come to astrology thinking they know what they need. But if you're really coming to an astrologer with respect, which you should be, you should come to an astrologer with respect, because this person is going to give you divine guidance, right? So if you're really coming to an astrologer with respect, then you should accept what they tell you is what you need to hear. You can't go to a teacher or a guide telling them what they need to teach you. You need to teach me this.
I want to really chime in on that point, because it's something that I encounter a lot, especially along the marriage scenario thing, is sometimes if people are wondering if they're wanting to get married, or if somebody else is going to get married, or if they're going to get a job, but most especially along the lines of things that are connected to marriage. If you are, looking at that particular factor, and it's something that just doesn't seem to be manifesting, and there's obviously a reason that it's not manifesting, sometimes you can tell people that over and over and over again, and they're going to want to try to find a way to make that happen.
Yeah.
Oh, you must be wrong. Can you please look at this way? I've actually had some situations before, and I always tell people things positive and supportive. If they're asking a question, I give an honest answer, but you always support the development that's going to come out of that. But sometimes people will come back and ask me the very same question that they just asked me 4 or 5 months ago, because they're wanting me to tell them something different.
See, we should start another business on the side, actually. Why are we bothering with this astrology stuff? People don't really want astrology. People just want friends.
Yeah.
Somebody to tell them, it'll be fine. You'll get everything you want, and don't worry about it.
And the thing is
so that they can take a breath. Yeah, then they can take a deep breath, and then they can think, okay, it'll be fine. And then all of a sudden it doesn't happen, and then they have somebody to be mad at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, what we really are supposed to do is help people figure out this riddle of that you keep trying to solve this particular puzzle, but this isn't even the puzzle that you're supposed to be trying to solve.
Exactly.
This is a totally unimportant puzzle.
Mm-hmm. That's why, I have this one consultation that I do that starts with a karmic analysis, like looking at the nodes, right? Really deeply looking at the nodes and understanding why. I find if you go into those things first, if you go into the why first, every single question that somebody has, all of a sudden it's just, yeah. As a matter of fact,
Yeah, I like that.
I often feel silly after I go into this really deep karmic analysis and then I'm looking at the prediction-oriented stuff, because I kind of feel like there's this side of it that's really deep, and now we're going into this and trying to find a way to work around something that's in your karmic path, and perhaps we shouldn't do that, right? You know, and I don't do that. I just go, well, this is the reason you're having this problem. But, you know, if you're, the reason you're having problems with marriage or holding down a steady relationship is this. But if you really want me to see when you're going to get married, yes, I think it will happen then. But if you become too attached to when it's going to happen, you're going to miss all this work that you really need to do.
Yeah. People also have serious lack of knowledge about what karma or fate is in the first place.
Why don't you tell us about that? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and also as a base corollary, people have a significant lack of knowledge about what time is and what the future is. People think that fate is something which is controlled by somebody else. You know, as if there are some chess players on Mount Olympus, which is the way that it gets portrayed to us when you hear about the way the Greeks used, but they didn't really think like that. That's the way that fools have misportrayed the ancient cultures, who haven't deeply delved into what these ancient cultures really believed in. Fate is not out of your control. Fate is not what somebody else does to you. There's no God or lizard alien in the middle of a hollow earth controlling you with hyperwaves that's making things happen to you. The universe doesn't work that way. Unless you wanted to, you can live in that, but that's not what the Veda says. And the Veda is our source of knowledge. We Vedic people take the Veda as our source of knowledge. And it doesn't say that there's somebody controlling you and setting up your destiny and you're a helpless pawn in a puppet. What the Veda teaches about what destiny is destiny is the effect of a cause. And that's what karma means. Karma, the root word of karma is just to act.
Yes.
It's kar. Kar means to do a dude. Karta is an actor. Karya is a method for doing something. All this word kar comes a million times in all kinds of words that have to do with action. So karma doesn't mean destiny. Karma means action.
Yes.
But every action is a cause, and then every cause generates an effect. The destiny part is the effect, which was set in motion by a cause. So every time we do something, we generate a cause. And then when this cause generates the effect, we call it the future.
Right.
Like the future is nothing except a concept. The future is just a concept for the space, the conceptual space in which the effect exists before it becomes phala or fructified.
But it's all right now, and so in the moment,
there's no such thing yet. There's only a right. There's only a now. There's only a reality right now. There's no future to travel to.
Yes.
There's no past to travel to. Time travel is ridiculous. There's
you want to time travel. It's right now. Think about
Yeah. My wife does that.
Think about where you're going. Right.
Yeah, my wife is so good at that. I don't know how she does that. But what was I saying?
Oh, you were talking about karma. And karma being an idea. And I'm sorry, I kind of led you off into the woods with the fairies because you said...
No, as soon as I think about my wife, then I lose my train of thought.
There you go. Good. You said something very profound when you were saying that, which, I was kind of beginning to think, you're planting a seed. In this moment, you're always planting a seed.
Yeah. Okay, good.
That seed, yeah?
Yeah, you got me back onto the track. Yeah, so your deed is the seed for what you sow. I mean, the Bible also says something like this, right? What you sow, you reap.
Yes.
I mean, it's obvious stuff. This is basic kindergarten philosophy. causes have effects. And so every philosophy is going to teach this. In India, we call it karma. That's what destiny is. It's not unconnected to your actions. It's the result of your actions.
Mm-hmm.
But because the complexity of action in a universe full of actors is so mind-bogglingly complex, we small-minded creatures, I mean, we're so small-minded. Our capacity of perception is so small. So we don't see all the connections between causes and effects. We forget the cause, and then the effect happens, and it doesn't consciously tie back to the cause. So we think that these things are just happening for no reason, and we call it luck. We think things are happening for no reason, or we may have a impressionable mind, bad Jupiter,
right,
easily impressionable, very, very gullible, and we may believe that there's some superpower someplace that's controlling these things because they're just happening to us. So it's like what your actions do is, that's why I use the phrase momentum in this quote that you said. Karma creates a momentum. The cause creates a momentum towards an effect. And then when the effect bears fruit, that's called that's the future that you look towards when it comes to the past. It comes to the present. But anyway, that momentum is real. That's why we feel like, oh man, somebody else is controlling my destiny. That's why we feel that way. Because like when your car goes out of control, you're driving your car, but because of the way you drove it, it goes out of control. You drove it over the ice, or you went around a turn too fast, or you slammed on the brakes and now the tires lost their grip.
Mm-hmm.
And now your car is actually out of your control. And so we do literally come into periods of time in our life where we are out of control.
And
we're
so
not in control.
Right. And so when you're out of control, you're going to think it's somebody else, right?
Right.
Because there is a part of you that has blocked out awareness of that other aspect of yourself that does have that potential.
Yes.
Does have that potential to take the right action. Instead, you block that side out. So of course, if you're blaming it on somebody external, aside from blaming it on God, or somebody upstairs, in the great sky going, you've been a bad boy, here's your punishment in regards to all that, right? Instead, sometimes we blame it on another person.
Are you done?
You want to see this little?
Yes.
Are you done?
No, Liddy, you're on YouTube. You want to say hi?
Hello.
That's a good way to get it out of you. My son over there is a YouTuber.
Oh, excellent.
Okay, go ahead. You're saying we block it out.
Getting cut off. Yeah,
that's okay. I don't need this part. This is the higher.
Right, exactly. And so we blame things on somebody else, but really, in the higher sense of awareness, sometimes I like William Burns' quote, "Language is a virus from outer space," right? So when we have to put things into words, sometimes it limits it. But if we kind of take the higher perspective with things, we're perceiving separation, but on a deeper level, it's just unity, right?
Yeah.
So there is no somebody else to blame something on.
Well, that's also interesting.
There's only aspects of God. So we're just blocking out a side of ourselves. And because we're blocking out a side of ourselves, this person's responsible, or God is responsible. When in reality, you're responsible.
You're responsible.
And that's not a bad thing. That's actually a really good thing, because accepting that responsibility means you're accepting your power.
Yeah, but it's very scary.
It is.
It's like growing up. There's nothing more scary than being 16 years old. And that, because this is when you have to do this in a big way, is you have to accept your power.
Yeah.
Which means that all of a sudden you also are responsible for the things.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the thing about blocking out, it's very interesting. So you're driving down the street. You're the one who made the car go out of control, but now you're in a situation where you're out of control. So similarly, karma does create situations which become out of our control. Like you get cancer, or you get sick or something, or your beloved, somebody beloved to you dies or something. You can't control it. You can't cause it to change. It's beyond your control. But it's because of the momentum of something previous which has happened. And then why did we block it out? this blocker is, well, Krishna says he's the blocker. As Paramatma, he says, Mantak smritir jnanam apohanam cha sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto. I'm situated at the core of everything. And I am either giving you a memory or a forgetfulness, depending on what you want.
Yes.
And so why would we want to block something out? Because we have to protect our most treasured, most beloved thing. Do you know what that is? Ego.
Yes, exactly.
We have to protect our most treasured thing, which is our ego, which is saying, I could not possibly have deserved this. I could not possibly warrant this kind of an experience. I'm a good person. I'm actually really good.
And you are.
Well, you should be. You can be.
Yeah.
But you've been doing things that are miserable. You've been doing bad things to people.
Yeah.
Not even knowing how bad you are. Like, people don't even realize how bad they are, actually.
But
sorry, not to be
on one extent or another. There's this hint of,
okay, everybody's bad, everybody's good, but
devil on this shoulder, angel on the other one.
Yeah, but we do terrible things, really.
Yeah.
We do terrible things to people, to animals, to the earth, to everything. So to think that we should not be getting a difficult portion of life is also just to show some avidya, some ignorance. But like you said, the good news is, if you accept that you're responsible, even for the out of control part, then it shows you that you can do something about this. And the only reason why we have karma right now is because of our past actions. So if you think, well, past is step 1, and present is step 2, and future is step 3. And the present is the effect from step 1, which was the cause of the past. The past is the cause of the present.
Yes.
And that means the present is the cause of the future.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, it's not entirely like that, because there's some things from the past are going to, not every plant bears its fruit at the same speed.
Yes.
Right. So not every action leads to its effect at the same speed, because this world is so complex. There's so much karma in it that has to be balanced. Like, I live with my wife. She can't get a result now that I don't also deserve. And then what to speak about? We have 3 kids. So it's super complicated. That's why it takes lifetimes. There's many, 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 many results that you just can't get in this lifetime because of the people that you're connected with. Or there's certain inabilities. Like, I would love to be a great singer, a high-pitched voice, and I could do all kinds of bends and trills and everything, but it's not going to happen. But maybe it'll happen in the next birth. You know, it's just some fruits can't bear in this soil, so they have to wait for another soil. So, yeah, so if you understand what karma really is, what destiny really is, then you realize that you are the one who created it. And so if you realize that, then you realize that although you can't change what you've done already, I can't change the fact that yesterday, let's say yesterday I yelled at somebody who I shouldn't yell at. So I can't change that. That's done. And so that has set a certain effect in motion. That can't be changed. I'm going to have to deal with that effect. You can't put on a ring and make that effect go away. You can't even chant a mantra to make that effect go away. You can't do a puja or anything. You give a charity, nothing. That effect's going to happen. But what am I going to now? How am I going to act in response to that effect? That's my next cause. You know, so karma has a way of wrestling with us.
Yes.
And putting us into this like death grip where it just like snowballs us, like gets us into this round thing and just starts rolling us around in it. And we just start tumbling around in this loop where it keeps intensifying. We get this in interpersonal relationships too. Yeah. You get a little bit mad at one person, then they get a little bit mad at you, and then it gets more, it just intensifies. Yeah. So karma's like that too. When you react predictably, you do something which creates an effect, and then you react predictably to that effect. It creates an even stronger effect of the same nature, and that momentum just builds up. But you have to have the strength. That's why I say, like, you have to be ready to work. You can't come to an astrologer thinking this guy's going to make, or girl, this woman is going to make my life better.
No, that's your job.
We can make you better. We can help.
Yeah.
I mean, astrology can help. We can be the instruments of helping you.
We can't do the work.
You have to do the work. Like, even if I was a doctor and you were sick, and even if I have chemical medicine, like real practical stuff, you still have to take it and follow a basic regimen. I can't hit you with peacock feathers and make everything better. Or, just sprinkle some water over your head and make everything better. You have to do stuff yourself. You have to be ready to work. The astrologer can guide you how to work.
Yes.
They give you the effective rehabilitation program. This is what the real issues are, and this is why. And yeah, you need some predictions about something. Okay, to the best. This is the problem with predictions: is people think that there's a future to predict. There's no future to predict. Nobody knows what the future is going to come out like. People can be said to be trikalagya, which means that they see all three phases of time. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that there's something in there for them to see in the future. They just see so clearly that they can see the cause and the effect
at the
same time. So it's not actually that you see a future, but you see the outcome of the chain of causes and effects. So you know the future. But it's not like you can predict. It's not like it's set in stone. And you made this analogy of the key.
Yeah,
cutting the thing. Like I have a similar analogy to with cookies and cookie dough, because somehow I like food. All my analogies, some of my students said, you talk a lot about ice cream. All my analogies are like either about cookies or ice cream or TV shows. So I have certain TV shows that I like the Oracle on the History Channel has the Vikings TV show. I'm in love with this. I
haven't seen that, but I can relate to what you're saying.
You see, if people went to astrologers the way that the Vikings went to the Oracle, or the Greeks went to their oracles too, that would be good for them. These people, they go to the Oracle, they ask the Oracle a question, the Oracle gives them some kind of answer. It doesn't even sound like an answer to their question.
Right.
And then they leave. And they take it as the wisdom. And actually, it turns out to play out to be the wisdom that is related to their question in a way that they didn't even foresee how it was related to their question. Of course, that can be exploited by astrologers who actually don't know what they're talking about. But the concept illustrating that you're going to this person with some respect and faith and trust, which means that you shouldn't just go to anybody for an astrologer. And that's another dynamic that you find. You're the 55th person you're the 55th astrologer on the list of people that they've gone to,
right, in
hopes of getting the answer that they exactly want for the thing. And then, but sometimes I don't mind. Okay, whatever. It's your problem if you're just treating me as number 55 on your list. To go ahead. Here's my answer. You go to number 56. But it just feels cheap. It feels like this is not the kind of thing that I want to be doing with my time. Just being number 55 on somebody's answer machine list. But
and I think why people are doing that. Because I've encountered the same thing. Oh, I went to this person and they told me this. And generally what I hear is, especially when they're referring to other good astrologers that they have been to, and I'm telling them the same thing, I hear, yeah, I went to this astrologer. They told me the very same thing. Yes, but you doubted.
And
now
that's good.
Here,
yeah,
on a certain level asking me, and so maybe you're getting a second opinion like you're going to a doctor, so maybe that's healthy.
That can be healthy, right?
Yeah, but by the same token, are you underneath that, are you looking for a different answer? Are you looking for a different answer than the one you were given in the first place?
Yeah, that's why I was joking that we could just start an answer an answer service. You can tell us beforehand what answer you want, and then we can put you in contact with some mystical role-playing person who can give you that answer.
Yes, right.
That will save you from going through 55 astrologers.
But you also touched on something which I feel is very vital, and I have to be careful not to get up on my porta pulpit in relation to this, because I have this tendency to do that, which is I find with remedies, people have the absolute wrong concept with them. I want you to give me something that is going to make this go away.
Yeah.
I quite often tell people when they are coming with that approach, I just go, look, I can't rearrange your planets for you.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. It's not like me giving you a mantra or you wearing a ring. I actually had somebody ask me at one point, if I get a ring, will that make me a millionaire?
Yeah. It's amazing. Sometimes I wish I was as simple as these people.
Because you're spending money on the gemstones. So,
Yeah.
really, it's not that's going to do that. There are so many different factors that you have to consider. And I'm of the mindset that on a certain level, if you try to, I'm trying to figure out the right way to really vocalize this. If you try to, let's say, for instance, your chart seems to, somebody's chart, not yours specifically, somebody's chart seems to indicate problems with money. Their chart shows potential for them to really potentially only make this amount of money if they didn't, try to alter certain things about themselves or take other steps, right? But you also have to consider that might actually be for a reason. Because were you to suddenly become a millionaire, what other areas of your life would just completely fall apart and make you completely unhappy? And so much along the lines of what you were saying is, the things in the past have created a situation in the present. Your actions in the present are, set up to potentially create something in the future, right? So your experiences in your past may have led you to this particular karma where you're not really geared to be a millionaire, right? And if you try to work too hard against that and go, I'm not going to accept that, because really what that's ultimately doing is going, I'm not going to accept this, right?
Right.
Then you may understand that, well, perhaps this is the way it is because it's not healthy for that to happen to you. Maybe you worked out all that millionaire karma lifetimes ago, right?
Yeah.
And now you're wanting to relive that because you have that particular memory somewhere in your psyche of having been that way before.
Yeah.
Right?
See, people the real problem is they don't have vidya.
Right, exactly. And that's why I was saying that. I wasn't, on a similar note, I recognize that it may sound to viewers and people who are listening to what we're saying, like I'm saying something that is contradictory to what Vic is saying, but in essence, I'm not, right? Because, I'm saying, well, aren't we supposed to take actions that alter our destiny? Well, yes, but you also have to accept why things are the way that they are. And once you actually understand and accept why things are the way that they are, you may have absolutely no desire to have that particular outcome in your life. And you have to understand why you want that outcome. Why is that there? Just to give, some particular astrological examples. I find that I'm just going to say a very broad thing, and people may go, well, what is that specifically? I know it's going to end up with all these comments down below, but people may have certain planets, certain important karmic planets in Sagittarius, right? I like what Jaimini says about Sagittarius, which is, paraphrasing slightly, he says, Sagittarius indicates a fall from a height. And so what is Capricorn? Capricorn is the natural 10th house of the zodiac. It's right up above. Sagittarius is the 12th from that. So that's the loss of that status or the loss of that height, so to speak. I find that quite often you'll get people with important karmic planets there who are trying to regain this lost paradise, so to speak. Well, that, bringing that into the present discussion, why I was saying that, maybe that lost paradise isn't really something that you need to recover. Maybe you've got paradise in the moment.
Or maybe you don't even know what paradise is yet.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the thing. The root problem is lack of vidya, lack of knowing.
Exactly. Lack of knowing.
People don't really know what paradise is.
Yeah.
Nobody has really taken the time to realize that Facebook doesn't make you happy.
Yeah.
Friends don't make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
Children don't even make you happy. Happiness makes you happy.
Yes.
What is it? It's this mysterious thing. People haven't figured out what it is. It comes from love.
Thich Nhat Hanh. I hope I didn't slaughter his name.
Who?
Thich Nhat Hanh is a Buddhist. Had this really wonderful quote, which is, "There is no path to peace. Peace is the path."
That's a nice quote. That's a nice quote.
Yeah.
That's a nice quote.
It's similar with happiness. That's why I said that, because it's similar with happiness.
So I made a couple of notes so I didn't forget things I wanted to say in regards to what you said. One of the things you were saying was I think, well, there's another thing I want to say too is people think that the astrologer is like a savior too. Some people come to us as saviors, but we're not saviors. We're helpers. But the only person I can save is me.
Yes.
And the only person you can save is you. And the only person anybody can save is themselves, because you're the only person who has access to you. Besides God, you're the only person who has access to you. So you're the only person who can really do anything for yourself. Nobody else can really touch you except you. So, but we can help you see that. We can help you go towards realizing that. But people, so that's what I mean. Like, you have to be prepared to work.
Yes.
And also, people don't have vidya. People don't understand that the universe exists. It's a real thing. It's real.
It's
like
living.
the concept.
Yes.
And the concept of God is not something debatable, or it's not some old man someplace, somewhere, or some kind of religious thing. It's this reality of this universe. It's real. It's an undebatable thing. And it's good. There's no evil. Evil is just your fear. Evil is just your fear and your lack of knowledge. It's the shadow. A shadow is just a lack of light. Light is not a lack of shadow. Shadow is a lack of light.
Yes.
So people have this feeling that they have to correct the universe. And this is remedies too, like bringing up upaya and remedy. Let's fix this. We should fix us. We should fix our mentality, which doesn't know how to deal with this situation. The universe, you cannot deny that some things are painful. I myself, we've all gone through very painful things. But pain is not bad.
No.
Pain is an inspiration to move out of a wrong situation. Like if all of a sudden I feel a sharp pain in my butt, I better move and look and see what the heck is there, man. I'm sitting on a nail, or I'm sitting on a pin or something. So I need to get off that before I bleed. So pain is the inspiration to move, to change, to get to the right situation. Punishment is not evil. It's not done by evil people. Punishment is done by mothers and fathers who take care of their kids and tell them, don't go over there. It's dangerous. You're going to fall off the side of the road into that ditch. Get back over here. And they'll yell at them really harsh, and the child will cry, my mom is so scary. But it's not bad. The mother loves the child and is trying to impress the child, don't do this. So yes, there's things in life. There's some of the effects from some of the things that we've done are really, really nasty. And we have to go through a lot of pain and suffering to get us to move out of this bad situation that the bad habit of the bad kind of causes that we've been doing, the bad kind of actions which have hurt other people. We have to learn how not to do that. But these things don't need to be changed. We need to change to be receptive to them. That's what remedies are for. That's why rings don't work. There have to be actions. Yes. There's no statement anywhere. I don't know if Jaimini Sutra, frankly, I never read it.
No, there's nothing.
But I don't think
there's nothing in there.
But Parashara has a chapter on upaya. Does Jaimini have anything about upaya, like remedies?
I have only looked at the first and second padas, but I don't think so. I don't think there's anything in there.
Parashara has a nice one, really nice one at the end. And you're not going to hear anything about a gem. Everything that you hear is some kind of an action that you do that will affect the way you see the world.
Yes.
That will affect the way you perceive what's going on in your life. And that's why the most important one is mantra, because it changes your mind. Mantra, manas means mind. Mantra means a mind tool.
Right. I'd always heard of it as mind wave, but that's very, it's very similar. It's like you're creating a projection with your mind.
Well, it's a tool. Yeah. It's a tool.
Yeah.
Tra is like a tool. So it's the mind tool. Yeah. It's a tool to work on your mind. You need a screwdriver to work on your car. You need a wrench, right? But you need a mantra to work on your mind. Mantras let you change your mind so that you can change how you experience things. And then there's other things that are upayas too, like charity to certain types of people at certain times. It creates a deep samskar. It creates a deep change in your mind about how you feel about the world.
How you relate to something. Yes.
Yeah. Or doing some worship to a particular deva, to a particular god. It changes your attitude. So remedies are really meant to change us.
Yes.
And actually you cannot change destiny. This is another thing. It cuts both ways. Sometimes you meet some people in India who are stalwarts. They're still holding over from the real Vedic times, and they're called the Purva Mimamsakas, and the real Jaimini, sorry to say, but like the actual Jaimini was a Purva Mimamsaka. Mm-hmm. The Jaimini Sutra is really not an astrological text. This is a text called the Jaimini Sutra, but the real Jaimini Sutra is a text on how to analyze the four Vedas.
Right, exactly. Mimamsaka.
Yeah, Mimamsaka. So sometimes you meet those people, and they're very, very heavy people.
Yeah.
They believe that karma is the supreme force, and nothing can change karma. And a lot of astrologers come from that fold, because astrology is very interesting to them because it's a study of karma. But it is true. You cannot change karma. It cannot be changed. You did this, and that it's like we can't see the effect when we do the cause, but actually just by doing the cause, you have already created the effect.
Right.
And the effect just needs to, it's waiting for its time to become manifest in a tangible way, but it's not that it doesn't exist yet.
And if you try to circumnavigate that effect, you're really, in essence, and I'm sorry, I have to go off on a tangent here because I have to explain what I mean by this, because people have lost, I find, association with the true meaning of the word prosperity. To try to circumnavigate the effect is to deny your prosperity. And prosperity is that which is beneficial for your spirit. Everything that's coming in your life, this potential hardship, this difficulty, this challenge, that's all beneficial for you on a certain level, because you're being given an opportunity. You're not being cursed, you're being given an opportunity.
Yeah.
Only your mind sees it as this horrible thing. Or,
yeah.
Wow, well, this really sucks. And yeah, in essence, it does.
It does. It's painful.
Yeah. But
nobody can deny that. Yeah.
How you look at it is really what makes the difference. And that's going to, be connected with how you associate with that particular event.
Right. And what I'm trying to push on is showing that remedies don't actually change what's happening to you. Yeah. You cannot change what's happening to you. But what you change is what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's what you can change. You can't change what's happening right now, or especially what happened yesterday.
No.
But by changing how you interact with what's going on with you right now, you change tomorrow. You change what will happen to you tomorrow. Because tomorrow is not set. It has some shape. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow has some shape because the effects because the causes which are done now are building it. are building tomorrow, but it hasn't all come together yet.
It's a blueprint.
The blueprint's there, and it gets,
Yeah.
by the time it gets fully put together, it's the present.
Yeah.
So, wow, I would love to do a visualization of that with some kind of computer animation.
Yeah.
Like a matrix style. That'd be good. So, okay, so the last thing I wanted to say was, there's two stories that I have in my mind that really illustrate a lot of what you were talking about too, how just because something is, we don't even really know, we shouldn't really even trust our opinion that this thing is bad, which is happening to me. Maybe it's good.
Yeah.
I had two stories. Unfortunately, I can't remember this one fully. One of them, but there's just this one story of this guy who had this advisor. I think he was a king. He had this advisor that was telling him this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't like it.
Yeah.
And then something happened where by some unfair circumstance, his hands got cut off. Or the king's hand got cut off or something. And he got thrown in prison. And then he was telling the guy, yeah, right? Yeah, you think everything is going to be good? Look what happened to me. And then some people came through and they killed every single man. They killed every single able-bodied man in the town. Right. And then he was spared from that because he wasn't an able-bodied man, so they didn't even consider him a threat, so they didn't kill him. Right. So then the advisor said, see? You thought that it was bad that you got your hand cut off, but now you're alive because of it.
Yes.
So that's one story. There's another story too, and it just illustrates this one. The second one that I really wanted to mention illustrates that we don't really even know what paradise is. We don't really even know what's good yet. And so we're so intent on getting a specific thing that we're giving all our energy to getting this one specific result. But it's not even going to bring you happiness. So what's really the value of the result? The story is about Dhruva. Dhruva was 5 or 6 years old when he was a prince. But the kings they have many wives. You're going to have to get used to that. Sorry to the viewership. The kings have more than one wife, and any rich man can have more than one wife, because as long as you can support these women and keep them happy and keep them happy, and then you're allowed to have as many wives as you want, as they want. As many women as want to marry you, you're allowed to take them. That's how the Vedas say it. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that we can do that these days because that's illegal, but that's how the stories are. So the king, of course, they usually have a lot of wives because they have tons of money. So Dhruva was the son of a wife who had fallen out of favor or something. She was older or something. There was a better one. The king was more in love with this other wife, and her son was going to become the next king, not this Dhruva. Right. But Dhruva didn't really care too much. He just wanted affection from his father. But when he would try to get on his father's lap, the other kid would push him out of the way and sit on the dad's lap. And then the wicked stepmother comes in and says, if you really want your father's love, then you should kill yourself and then be reborn from me, because your father doesn't love your mother as much as he loves me. So if you're reborn from me, then he'll love you. And Dhruva, this boy, became so enraged by this. First of all, that his father let him get pushed off his lap, and that this woman could say this to him right in front of his father. His father didn't say anything about it. His father didn't say, "Don't say that to my son," or anything, So Dhruva became so enraged, and tears were pouring out of his eyes, and he ran to his mother, and his mother said, "And the only one that can help you is Bhagavan. The only one that can help you is God, because your father's right. I'm the second, third, fourth wife to him, and you're not going to be the king, and this other boy is. And the only one that can help you is God. So if you really want to do anything about this, go meditate on God." And Dhruva, the 6-year-old boy, he just immediately left the palace and walked out into the forest, found a place to sit down, and sat down. And Narada Muni noticed, or he heard about it. And he was just looking at this boy. who was doing this incredible, he was 6 years old, but he just sat in one place and decided not to eat until God would give him an audience, till Bhagavan would come. And so he was reducing his eating so dramatically, and after like 3 or 4 months, he was only breathing, no eating, just breathing. But because you can get prana from the air, and that can give you nutrition.
Right.
So he was very, 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 a 6-year-old boy was doing this incredibly difficult thing because of the rage that he wanted revenge. He wanted revenge. And what was on his mind was, I want a kingdom. I want my father's kingdom. And in fact, I want a kingdom that was going to make my father's kingdom look petty. I want a kingdom better than my grandfather. And his grandfather is Brahma.
Right.
So Brahma's the king. Brahma's kingdom is the whole universe.
Right.
So Narad Muni said, wow, this child is something special. He has such determination. That's why his name is Dhruva. Dhruva means determination. Right. So he has such determination. I'm going to help him. And he gave him a mantra. I think it may have been Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya or something. He gave him some mantra. He said, use this mantra. And you'll have darshan of Bhagavan. Bhagavan will come, and then you can get a benediction from Bhagavan. And Dhruva did. And shortly thereafter, Bhagavan appeared to him. And when he saw Vishnu came to him. And when he saw Vishnu, all of a sudden he felt so much happiness. Now I am looking at the soul of my soul, the supreme cause of existence, the supreme reason of existence, the most beautiful object in existence. Happiness just overflowed out of him. And Vishnu said, what do you want? What do you want? And Dhruva said, I can't even remember what I wanted.
Yes.
I can't even remember what I wanted. I can't even talk. And then Vishnu touched him on the head with the conch shell. And then all of a sudden he could talk very eloquently. And he gave some eloquent poetry, 6-year-old boy, just speaking about how much affection he felt for Vishnu. And then Vishnu said, I remember what you want, because I've been with you the whole time. I'm in your core of your being. I know exactly what you want. And don't worry, now you're going to get it. Go back to the palace now. And then the other guy died, the other son. But then Dhruva felt so bad about it. He felt so bad. He felt bad that actually his penance caused his brother to die from a serious disease. Then the mother became crazy, wandered out into the forest, got eaten by a tiger or a snake or something. But the purpose of the story is to show you that we think we want a kingdom greater than this, or we think we want this or that. But when you actually figure out what real happiness really is, which is just to experience true beauty, which is just to experience love, natural love, which is the bhakti. Mm-hmm. When you realize that that's what happiness really is, then you don't even care if you got the promotion or not. And you don't even need the promotion or not. Yeah. You have all these other things come. They come to serve the person who has this kind of realization about what life is. Whatever money you need comes, whatever job you need comes, what relationship you want comes.
And whatever it is that comes is your success.
Mm.
Even if it doesn't match the success that you
thought it was, that you thought you wanted.
You wanted, yeah.
Yeah.
So you are successful. Everybody's successful.
Yeah. I wanted to tell a story of Dhruva.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. So I'm done.
Oh, yeah. Oh, most definitely. It's a wonderful story. Yeah. But yeah, I find that people, something that I always think about this is that people can see the universe, life, God as being cruel, right? This is cruel. Why is this happening, right? And it's because, like we've been alluding to, we're seeing what we want now. We want happiness now. We identify happiness as being this person, this thing, right? We want happiness now. Well, God, the universe wants you to be happy forever. So at that moment, you're seeing this one single drop. You've got like this here, like this cup, you know, it's like half full, right? Or is it half empty?
It's about 60% full.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. It's 60%, 63 actually.
Yeah.
But you know, you're seeing it as more empty than it is, you know,
Yeah.
full, you know, and the perfection is always in the moment, and all the seeming imperfection that you've got in your life. It's everything is perfect. Everything is perfect as it is. It's just your awareness is not there in that moment to see the perfection.
Yeah. I would go a little step further too, and say it's not really that we only have temporary happiness now. We don't have happiness now. We don't know what happiness is.
Yeah.
We are dreaming about it, or we're thinking that we're chasing it. Actually, we're only chasing happiness, and the hope of getting it is what we think is the feel of happiness.
Right.
We have not, because our eyes and our whole consciousness is focused towards external objects that have nothing intrinsically to do with us. And so there's no permanent relationship that can be established with these external things. So we don't know what happiness is. So it's not that even that God wants you to be happy forever. God wants you to be happy, period.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And then people think that God is cruel, just like my daughter. Sometimes she thinks that my wife is cruel. If mommy yells at my daughter, then my daughter comes running to me. Daddy, 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 you know, we're okay, right? You know, like mommy's yelling at me. Is that okay? Or if I yell at her, then she's going to run to my wife. Mommy. Yeah, everything's cool, right? You know, because she's going to think, well, daddy's bad right now. Right now, daddy's bad because he's yelling at me. And I don't like daddy right now. And then when my when my wife yells at her, then mommy's bad right now. Mommy's cruel right now. So the same way we're thinking that God is cruel, life is cruel, the universe is cruel, the universe is bad.
Yeah.
It's not. We're actually pretty bad.
Yeah.
Think about all the Hitlers and Stalins and everybody. That's been us in our past lives.
Yeah.
We've done these things. And what we do now, what we do to the earth, how we treat the earth, how we treat fellow living creatures, how we treat animals, the things that we're doing are atrocious. We're actually getting off quite easy.
Yes.
In terms of the karma that we get.
Definitely. So, you know, I just want to, because I'm sadly a little bit short of time, I wanted to kind of say to people that if you're going to approach an astrologer or even approach learning astrology, then these are really good things to understand. And on that particular subject, Vic has recently put out a book on the fundamentals of astrology called Radically Deep Fundamentals of Astrology. And it's a really excellent book. And I just wanted to share the introduction to this because we were, like I said, we were going to initially, it's my created word for the day, initially talk about the Rashis today. And what I really appreciate about Vic's approach is he makes things very easy to understand. And I just wanted to share before we part ways today, the introduction to his book. And so if everybody can bear with me while I read things.
Should we turn to page 3 in our hymnals?
Exactly. So this is the introduction, which is a bazillion scribbles, right? If you're going to do astrology, you're going to have to read charts. If you're going to read charts, you're going to have to make sense out of all those weird scribbles and lines. For the most part, those scribbles and lines represent the planets, signs, and houses. The planets are lights in the sky that move in relation to all the other lights up there. The signs and houses are what they move through. Just very simple explanation. But this is leading somewhere that helps people to really grasp it all in one really wonderful page. There are 9 planets, 12 signs, and 12 houses, for a total of 33 core astrological symbols. To be fluent in astrology, you'll need to be as comfortable with these 33 as you are with the 26 letters of the alphabet. The challenge is that each one of these 33 symbols seems to have about a bazillion meanings associated with it. making memorization of their meanings practically impossible. Luckily, the little known truth is that each symbol actually has only one or two root meanings. Its bazillion other meanings are really just these one or two core meanings extrapolated into different contexts or explored from different angles. The sun, for example, represents the central stabilizing point. In the context of a family, that symbolizes a father figure. In the context of a corporation, it symbolizes the boss. In the context of a nation, it symbolizes a king or government. In the context of your body, it symbolizes your bones, heart, and overall health. There is really only one meaning, and we just need to be aware of what that one thing represents in many different contexts. In this book, I will identify and explain the core meaning of each planet, sign, and house, and will show how it expands into the most important dozen or so subjects symbolized. This makes it quite possible, even enjoyable, to become fluent with all the symbolism fairly quickly. This is possible because I will not present you with disjoined facts to memorize. I will give you the core symbolic associations and a paradigm for decoding and extrapolating them into any of a bazillion possible situations. Incidentally, this will also make you familiar with the dynamic process of combining, expanding, and modifying symbols, the single most important talent required to interpret any birth chart. Thus, although you can finish this book in a weekend, the real treasure you will obtain is a conceptual paradigm that will continue unfolding in your astrological and spiritual journey for many lifetimes to come. What's even more amazing, at least to me, is that even if you never try to read a single astrological chart, you will understand life so much more clearly by learning how various aspects of life are organized around and structured under these core symbols. And that really says it all, because what we're doing with astrology is we're, again, language limits it. Language is a virus from outer space on some levels, but we're understanding life. We're understanding consciousness, the complexity of consciousness, but we're understanding it through a language that is simple at its foundation. And Vic's book does a really wonderful job of making all these concepts really simple, as I'm sure our viewers have experienced through watching the videos that he's been on here. So, thanks, Vic, for being here today.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
For being there in general. Yeah.
Thanks.
And it was really wonderful to have you on today. Do you have anything to leave our viewers with?
No, thank you so much. And thanks for reading that. I was glad that there was no typos in it.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the new thing that I did, was I just published that book. So that's leading me into getting more into publishing books about how you actually do astrology.
Yeah.
Previously, I had published one called which is a very short book called Beautifully Rational Philosophy of Astrology. Mm-hmm. That one also actually has a lot to do with what we talked about today.
Yes, I've read that too.
Yes, so there's that one too.
Yep.
You can get both of them on Amazon or at my website or anything like that.
And I highly recommend doing so. So thanks everybody for joining us today. Thank you, Vic. See you next time. And we will talk about the Rashis at some point, unless we change our mind at the last minute.
We got to do that. Thank you. I'm glad we changed it.
Oh, me too. Take care.
Thank you, everybody. My thanks to everybody who's watching too. Thank you.